There are people who spoke death over your image, people who stared at your face while whispering destruction, and people who tried to bind your destiny using envy, jealousy, and quiet spiritual manipulation, hoping that if they couldn't touch you physically, they could reach you through intention, through projection, and through unseen channels. But hear this clearly and let it settle into your spirit right now. You are still breathing, you are still standing, and you are still here. And that is not an accident. That is evidence. What was sent to destroy you expired on contact with your destiny, because what was aimed at you did not account for the authority on your life, the protection surrounding your name, or the timing written into your path long before they ever noticed you. If you feel this message moving inside you, comment right now, "I am chosen." And before we go any further, like this video, subscribe, and stay with me, because what you are about to understand will finally explain why your life shifted, why the noise faded, why the crowd vanished, and why solitude became your covering. Chosen one. There is a reason your life became quiet, a reason the phone stopped ringing, a reason friendships collapsed without explanation, and a reason romance feels delayed, distant, or completely removed. And it is not because you are broken. It is not because you are unworthy. And it is not because you are unloved. It is because you were removed before the attack fully formed. Some people don't lose friends. They lose access because access to you became dangerous for those who carried hidden intentions. Some people don't get abandoned. They get extracted, quietly, surgically, without announcement, because remaining connected would have placed you directly in the path of something meant to drain you, derail you, or delay what is unfolding now. You were not pushed away in rejection. You were pulled out in protection. Isolation did not come to punish you. It came to preserve you. Loneliness did not arrive because you failed socially. It arrived because your spirit outgrew the environments that once felt familiar. The silence you're in now is not emptiness. It is insulation. The distance you feel is not loss. It is divine spacing. You are in a phase where distractions are reduced, interference is limited, and access is restricted, because what is being built in you cannot survive constant exposure to misunderstanding, envy, or emotional leakage. This is why certain people could not follow you into this season, why conversations felt shallow, why your tolerance for chaos dropped, and why your soul demanded stillness even when your mind questioned it. You are not behind, you are hidden. You are not forgotten, you are shielded. You are not isolated because something went wrong. You are isolated because something powerful is stabilizing within you. And now let's dive deeper, because once you see this clearly, you will stop mourning what is left and start honoring what protected you. Point 1. Why they targeted your image and not your body. There are attacks that happen in the physical world, and there are attacks that happen in the symbolic world, and chosen ones often experience the second long before anything ever touches the first. Most chosen ones are not attacked directly at the beginning. They are studied, watched, and observed quietly from a distance, because predators do not rush what they do not yet understand. When someone fixates on your image, it is not curiosity. It is resonance, mixed with resentment, because your presence activates something unresolved inside them that they have been running from their entire life. Your photo becomes a focal point because it represents your essence without your consent, your light without your permission, and your frequency frozen in time yet still alive. It carries who you are even when you are not there, and that is why jealousy begins silently, without confrontation or argument, without noise or warning, just observation, fixation, and internal comparison. The reason they did not come for your body is because your body is protected by proximity. It is guarded by awareness, by intuition, by timing, and by the unseen order that moves around you. Your image, however, feels distant to them, accessible and harmless, as if distance weakens protection. What they misunderstood is that your protection does not depend on distance, location, or visibility. It depends on assignment. You are not protected because you are careful. You are protected because you are placed, and placement carries authority. Anything sent toward a chosen one must first pass through spiritual authority, and authority does not negotiate with envy, insecurity, or malice. When intention meets divine protection, intention does not fight. It collapses because it has no jurisdiction. This is why the attack did not land, why the outcome reversed, and why what was meant to harm you turned into exposure, consequence, and energetic recoil. This is why there is symbolic death in this story, but you are still breathing, still standing, still moving forward with clarity. Something had to end, but it was not you. The curse did not disappear, it expired. And when something expires spiritually, it does not vanish quietly or fade away unnoticed. It collapses back onto its source, carrying the weight of its own intention. What was sent out returned multiplied, not because you wished harm, but because balance does not need permission. You were never meant to be touched, only revealed, and in the process, the truth showed itself without you lifting a finger. Point 2. Why loneliness appeared immediately after the attack failed. Loneliness does not arrive randomly in the life of a chosen one. It arrives as containment. After an attack is blocked, the next priority is isolation, not as punishment, but as protection. When something valuable is under threat, it is not paraded in public. It is secured. Your environment becomes quieter because noise creates leakage. Noise creates access. The fewer people around you, the fewer entry points exist for interference, manipulation, envy, and spiritual contamination. You may have noticed people pulling away without explanation, conversations drying up, familiar faces becoming distant, and invitations disappearing without closure. This was not rejection. This was not social failure. This was spiritual narrowing. The path around you was intentionally reduced so that what could not be trusted would fall away on its own. God does not isolate chosen ones because they are weak. He isolates them because they are targeted. Exposure is dangerous when the assignment is still forming. What you call loneliness is actually spiritual lockdown. You were placed somewhere the attack could not follow, a space where outside influence loses its grip. That is why certain people suddenly feel uncomfortable around you, even without conflict. Your frequency no longer allows casual access. The silence you are experiencing is not empty, it is fortified. It is a guarded space. It is a perimeter. This is why your loneliness feels different from ordinary loneliness. It does not feel desperate or chaotic. It feels heavy, still, pressurized, almost deliberate. That is because it is. Ordinary loneliness drains you. This kind of loneliness sharpens you. It removes distraction, reveals truth, and forces clarity. In the quiet, patterns become visible. Motives become obvious. Your own voice grows louder, your discernment strengthens. This phase is where identity is solidified without applause, where dependence on external validation is broken, and where emotional independence is forged. If everyone stayed, the lesson would be diluted. If noise remained, direction would blur. So the environment was stripped down to essentials: you and God, nothing else competing for authority. This is not abandonment. This is concealment. It is preparation without spectators. When the time comes for reintegration, It will not be accidental. It will be precise. Until then, the stillness is doing its work. The isolation is not a delay. It is a safeguard. And the fact that you are still standing, still clear, still aware within the silence, is proof that the protection is holding. Point 3. The psychological impact of being spiritually protected. Protection does not always feel comforting. Sometimes it feels confusing, disorienting, and quietly unsettling. When your nervous system expects connection but receives silence, your mind begins to search for explanations. You replay conversations in slow motion. You analyze tone, timing, facial expressions, and pauses. You question your worth, not because it is lacking, but because your previous environment trained you to measure safety through constant interaction. You wonder if something is wrong with you, not realizing that nothing is wrong at all. This is the psychological side effect of divine protection. Your environment changed faster than your self-concept could update. You were moved before your emotions were briefed. The body is always the last to receive the memo. The soul obeys instantly. The mind resists. The nervous system hesitates. This mismatch creates confusion. It creates the sensation of loss, even when you're being preserved. This is why chosen ones often feel misunderstood during protection phases. You're no longer vibrating in the frequency of your old surroundings, but you have not yet fully embodied the new one. You're between rooms. You're not broken. You're recalibrating. When threats are removed, the nervous system does not immediately celebrate. It scans, it waits. It looks for danger that is no longer there. This is why restlessness appears in stillness. This is why overthinking increases when chaos leaves. Your system was once rewarded for vigilance. Now it must learn to rest. Silence feels loud when you are used to noise. Peace feels unfamiliar when you have lived in survival mode. But underneath all of it is safety. Quiet safety. The kind that does not announce itself. The kind that does not explain itself. The kind that simply holds you while your body relearns what calm feels like. Protection does not come with fireworks. It comes with space. Space to breathe, space to feel, space to shed identities that were built for battles you no longer need to fight. Loneliness in this phase is not rejection. It is insulation. Confusion is not failure. It is a transition. The absence of certain people is not punishment. It is precision. You were not removed because you were weak. You were removed because you were valuable. And value is always protected, quietly, carefully, and without spectacle. Point 4. Why relationships collapsed without closure. Chosen ones rarely get closure. They get extraction. And there is a reason the ending felt abrupt, unfinished, and almost surgical. Closure requires conversation, explanation, and emotional negotiation, but extraction requires authority, precision, and timing. When a relationship, friendship, job, or environment ends suddenly in your life, it is not because something was left unresolved. It is because resolution would have delayed obedience. Some connections were never assigned to understand your departure. They were assigned to end before they could follow you into what comes next. If they had known where you were going, they would have tried to access it through you, dilute it, slow it down, or contaminate it with familiarity. God does not negotiate exits for chosen ones when timing matters. He does not hold group meetings, allow final explanations, or grant emotional closure when delay would cause damage. He closes doors decisively, without apology, because hesitation in divine timing creates spiritual vulnerability. The confusion you felt afterward was not loss, it was separation shock. It was the nervous system reacting to the sudden removal of something familiar that had quietly become unsafe. You were not abandoned, you were extracted. Familiarity can be dangerous when it outlives its assignment. Some people were allowed access to you only for a season, and when that season expired, access was revoked without warning. That sting you felt was not heartbreak, it was detox. It was your spirit recalibrating after being disconnected from a frequency that no longer matched your future. You did not lose love, you lost access, and access once revoked does not return. This is why going back never feels the same. The door is not locked, it is sealed. The version of you that once belonged there no longer exists. Closure would have tempted you to revisit, to explain, to fix, to linger. Extraction removes the option entirely. It forces forward movement without emotional bargaining. This is how destiny protects itself. You were not meant to carry certain people into the next chapter because they were only trained to recognize the old you. What felt cruel was actually precise. What felt sudden was actually overdue. What felt like rejection was divine protection in its most efficient form. Chosen ones do not get the comfort of goodbyes when the assignment demands speed. They get separation, silence, and forward momentum. And, in time, you will realize the peace that followed was not emptiness. It was safety. Point 5. The backfire effect and why justice happens quietly. Spiritual law does not seek revenge. It seeks balance, and balance is impersonal, precise, and inevitable. When someone directs harm, malice, manipulation, or destructive intention toward a protected individual, the law does not pause to negotiate morality, emotion, or justification. It does not ask who started it, who deserved what, or who appeared innocent on the surface. Spiritual law operates beyond narrative. It reads only energy, intention, and alignment. Whatever is sent out must complete its circuit, and when it encounters a soul that is shielded by purpose, integrity, or divine assignment, that energy cannot land. It cannot attach. It cannot contaminate. So it returns to its origin, carrying the full weight of the sender's own intent. This is why you may notice that people who attempted to undermine you begin to unravel without your involvement, without confrontation, and without you lifting a finger. Their lives may grow chaotic. Their decisions may become erratic. Their inner world may collapse quietly. This is not punishment administered by you, nor is it a victory you are meant to claim. You were never assigned the role of executioner or judge. You were assigned the role of witness. Observation without contamination is your responsibility. Celebration would lower your frequency. Interference would interrupt the process. Clean hands are required when spiritual law is in motion. Justice in the spiritual realm is quiet, almost surgical. It does not announce itself. It does not seek validation, applause, or witnesses. There are no dramatic confrontations, and no public confessions are required. The correction happens internally first, then externally, as instability, loss of control, or exposure unfolds naturally over time. Meanwhile, your protection was already decided before the attack ever formed. Your survival was not luck. It was the verdict. The fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still aligned, and still progressing is the only confirmation needed. Their instability was not caused by you. It was revealed by the return of their own energy. Spiritual law never misses an address. It never rushes, and it never forgets. When balance is restored, it leaves no fingerprints, no drama, and no residue on the one it protected. All that remains is clarity. You were preserved because you were not meant to fall. and what could not touch you had no choice but to return home. Point 6. Why you were not told what was blocked. If you fully understood what was prevented, you might have lost peace, lost trust, or even lost softness in your spirit. You might have hardened into someone who scans every room for danger, every smile for betrayal, every silence for threat. That is not who you were designed to become. So you were kept unaware, not because you were weak, but because your heart was valuable. Protection does not require your awareness to function. It requires alignment. While you were moving forward, unseen hands were redirecting your steps, closing doors before you reached them, delaying conversations that would have wounded you, removing people before they could damage your spirit. You were guided away from danger without being shown the danger itself, and that concealment was intentional. It preserved your capacity to love, to trust, to remain open. Chosen ones are not meant to live suspicious lives, constantly bracing for harm. They are meant to live discerning lives, able to sense truth without being poisoned by fear. There is a difference. Suspicion corrodes the soul and makes you small. Discernment refines the soul and makes you precise. By limiting what you could see, God kept you operating from clarity instead of paranoia. You were protected not just from events, but from becoming someone you were never meant to be. Point 7. The end of isolation and the beginning of re-entry. Isolation is not permanent. It is seasonal. When the threat expires, movement resumes. Slowly at first, new connections appear. Opportunities feel lighter. Your energy stabilizes. This is how you know protection is lifting. Not because chaos returns, but because ease does. You will not rush out of isolation. You will be released from it. And when you are, you will carry wisdom instead of wounds. You were not hidden to shrink. You were hidden to stabilize. The season that made you feel forgotten is the same season that ensured your future could not be destroyed. If this message resonated in your body before it reached your mind, comment once more, I am chosen. Like this video, subscribe, and remain present, because the protection phase is ending. And what comes next requires clarity, not fear.